Joe Flacco yesterday had a couple things to say about his role in this very crowded quarterback room.
It's a good question to bait somebody into answering, and no matter how they answer it, it kind of makes the guy that's answering it look bad. If I say I don't want to be a mentor, I look bad. If I say I do want to be a mentor, then I look like an idiot that doesn't care about being good and playing football. So it's one of those questions that no matter what I say, you guys can write what you want to write about it. And there's a lot of questions like that. That's why you end up having to try to avoid them. I tend to try to be honest. And I've said I'm not a mentor. I play football. And in a quarterback room, there's a lot of times there's been a ton of times where there's learning experiences, and I have a lot of experience, and I can talk on things, and hopefully they listen. But it's not necessarily like my job to like make sure they listen to me. And hey, like hopefully you have a really good relationship with the guys that are in the room, and you naturally want to do that. Like, here's the thing is, like, because of what I just said, like, you're acting like I wouldn't want to be a mentor. It's like, once again, it's not really about that. It's just not the main focus. I see myself as a guy that can play in this league. So if your main focus was just like, hey, but I'm going to get you ready, you're just not taking care of business. The best way to be a mentor, honestly, is like show people how you go to work, and like I said, hope that they pick up on that stuff, but not necessarily force them to pick up on the things that you do.
Mary Kay Cabot joins us now from Cleveland.com and The Plain Dealer. And my whole thought right away is, if you're sitting there like this, first of all, and for the radio audience, I've got my arms crossed as I watch Joe Flacco give his press conference, you're immediately defensive. So, Mary Kay, does it make him look like an idiot to be a mentor? I think not. But this is just the beginning of a hot mess and a long, crazy season in Cleveland.
You know what? Let me just say this about Joe Flacco and that whole mentorship piece. He's been asked this question so many times over and over and over again, and he's tired of answering it. We asked him this question back when he was here in 2023. We asked him this question when he had his opening press conference, when he first signed with the Cleveland Browns. He was asked about it when he was in Indianapolis last year. And the question just irks him. So it really doesn't bother me too much that Joe is tired of answering this question. When he's been around in this game for 18 years, he's 40 years old. I can understand where certain things like this would get to him. And that is one of his hot button issues. I don't really blame him.
Yeah, but I would say this back to you. I'm 52, right? Suddenly I look in the mirror and suddenly these young women are talking to me like I'm the old lady in the room, the mentor who knows everything. And by the way, like, kind of sucks, but also kind of great at the same time. The way I look at it is with him is he's got to be smarter about answering it. I know he's irked. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has gone through this. Brett Favre's gone through this. We've seen every quarterback who goes over the age of 37 answering this. But as you see how crowded that locker room is, and we know that he wants to be the guy, he's made it very clear. It just seems to me like it's just not a smart approach to it. At some point, if he is the starter one and he is QB1 and he's playing his way through, I get it. But when we hear that Shedeur Sanders is looking good, when we know how crowded that room is, it just seems to me like be older, be better, be smarter about it.
Well, this is his, as I mentioned before, it's his trigger question, and he answers everything absolutely beautifully. And I just think that this is the one thing that he just doesn't want to talk about anymore. He's tried to say over and over and over again, look, you can learn from watching me. You can learn from doing whatever I do, but I'm not here to hold your hand and get you to be able to win the job over me. That doesn't feel like what he needs to do. So again, I don't have a huge issue with it. I know some people do, but I'm not in that camp.
What are your thoughts about what's happening in that room right now?
Well, I think actually when I look at the first part of the Browns schedule, it's a grueling schedule. They start with 2 AFC North foes, and then they move into this space where they have 5 out of 6 on the road beginning in week 4. And that shouts to me veteran quarterback. So I actually think that it might come down to Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco. And the Browns see something special in Kenny Pickett. They think maybe they'll catch lightning in a bottle and he can be their version of a Sam Darnold or someone like that. And so I think it's probably going to ultimately come down to those two veteran guys, because you don't want to lose your veteran Pro Bowl players early on in the season. So that's the way that I see it kind of shaking out in the end. But the Browns are also very, very excited about Dylan Gabriel, their 3rd round pick. And then the way it played out yesterday is the way that I thought it would, is that Shedeur right now is the fourth team quarterback. He did not take any team reps yesterday. Sometimes there's misinformation that comes out of an OTA like that, but he just did not take any team reps. And not just that he wasn't the second guy or the first guy, he didn't take any 11 on 11s yesterday. So he did a really nice job in his 7 on 7s, a great job. But they are making him come up the learning curve and earn his way.
You mentioned Dylan Gabriel. How are you seeing him progressing?
He's doing a really nice job. Once again, we didn't see him in very many team drills or 11 on 11s. He only took 3 of those reps yesterday. So he's got a ways to go. And, I think he'll get there. He does things really well. He's very efficient. He's got a nice, strong arm. But once again, I think that these 2 young rookies have a lot to learn from these veterans. And I think it's going to be a very, very heated competition.
Let's throw that schedule up one more time, Mike, if you don't mind looking at the Cleveland schedule. Which games stand out to you as the ones that you have your eye on?
Well, once again, they have to start very, very strong. So starting at home versus Cincinnati and then at Baltimore, that's a really, really big deal to come out of the gate against your AFC North foes. And then you move into 3 really tough playoff teams from the NFC North. And then again, starting in week 4, you've got those 5 out of 6 on the road, including going all the way over to London to face the Vikings, who went 14-3 last year. So if you can make it out of that stretch by week 9 and still be relevant, then perhaps you can be onto something and make a little bit of a push down the stretch, but they've got to survive that beginning of the schedule.
Hey, Mary Kay, Chris here. You're funny. You're talking about the reps these guys took yesterday. No 11 on 11s for Shedeur or Gabriel. I saw a graphic yesterday that had OTA stat tracking. I know training camp tracking is super fun. Everyone's charting all the throws and who picked what. I mean, this person said that Shedeur had 3 touchdowns yesterday. So should I not be paying attention to any of this? Because I love these training camp OTA stats.
Well, actually, Dylan did get 3 reps in 11 on 11s.
Okay.
So all 3 of the quarterbacks, except for Shedeur, did get some work in the all-important 11 on 11s. Now, Shedeur did not get any. I thought that was somewhat significant, but Kevin Stefanski said, hey, don't read anything into this. Maybe he'll get some today. They're out there today. We're not. Maybe next Wednesday when we're out there again, Shedeur will be in 11 on 11s. He probably will be, in part because we made a big deal out of it this week. No, I don't think anything should be read into those numbers. Once again, those Shedeur numbers were all 7 on 7s and mostly with 3rd and 4th team players.
What are the vibes? Because, coming out of the draft, it was like, wow, this is some quarterback room. Like, what are they doing? When you have 4, do you really have 1? That's the age-old, adage about if you 2, you don't have 1. What are the vibes among all these guys and kind of the team from you can tell with this situation?
Well, I do think that it's going to be a lively competition, but I also believe that the Browns are going to have to select a starting quarterback as soon as possible. They have to be ready to win coming out of the gate. And we know that players like Myles Garrett, he wanted to be traded in the offseason because he didn't think the Browns were going to be capable of winning. So I think they need to show their Pro Bowl veterans like Myles Garrett, Joel Bitonio, Jerry Jeudy, all of those guys, David Njoku, that they're serious about winning this season and really not looking to next year to go out there and draft a quarterback with the 2 first-round picks that they have next year. So I do think that this is going to be very important as they move through the spring and the summer. But I don't think they can be doing this 4-way competition very deep into training camp. I think they need to show up in late July with a pretty good idea of who's going to win the job.
Yeah, you mentioned Myles Garrett. He kind of intimated to our friend Andrew Siciliano that he was kind of told what the plan was going to be at quarterback. Was this the plan, the best that you can tell?
Well, we're not really sure what Myles was told, but I'm guessing that they extolled the virtues of Kenny Pickett because they really believe that there is something great about Kenny and that they can bring that out in him and that he can flourish in this scheme. And then perhaps he was told that Joe Flacco will be coming back, and Myles did a lot of winning in 2023 with Joe Flacco, and it was fun for everyone. So I do think that he probably saw the wisdom in what they were thinking with those two guys, and then also that they would have those 2 first-round picks next year where they could go out and try to find a franchise quarterback in the event that they still need one.
Any concern that Myles Garrett skipped the OTAs? I mean, the big sighting with Chloe Kim, the snowboarder, right? I mean, we saw that in Tokyo. He went on Twitter and said, I'm going to buy a place here. But any concern about him not being there?
No, this is just how Myles rolls. He really doesn't feel the need to come to these organized team activities. They aren't the greatest for the linemen anyways. A lot of times it's more so a 7-on-7 oriented passing type of camp. So I don't think they're too worried about him not being here. And it has never hurt him in terms of his production on the field. He won NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 2023. So I think this is a non-issue.
You mentioned in your writing that Kevin Stefanski's got some West Coast spins and twists. What do you see coming?
Well, basically, what I meant by that is that the order of operations in terms of how the quarterbacks are stepping up there to take their reps. Joe Flacco went first in first team reps in 11-on-11s on Wednesday. And that was a mild surprise, but I think it's a nod to the fact that he's played here before and the fact that he's got a Super Bowl MVP and he's an 18-year pro. So I think that was a way of saying or showing that kind of respect for Joe Flacco, even though right now Kenny Pickett is, for all intents and purposes, in the lead in this competition.
Mary Kay Cabot, thanks again for joining us right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Catch The Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.